Hey guys, welcome to UK Foundation. Today we are going to do chapter 8, how do organisms reproduce. Without delaying, let's get started. First question, in the list of organisms given below, those that reproduce by asexual method are. First of all, what are the basic difference of asexual and sexual method? See, very basic is, in asexual there is only one sex involvement. In asexual, there is only one sex involvement, and in sexual, there are two sex involvement for reproduction. What are those two sexes? Male and other is female. And other difference is, in asexual, there are no gametes involved. In asexual, there are no gametes involved. Whereas in sexual, there are gametes involved. Now, what does this gametes do? See, these gametes are nothing but the germ cells, right? It means that indirectly in sexual there are germ cells involvement, but whereas in asexual method there are no germ cells, right? Now we'll see the question. Banana is by vegetative propagation, so that is obviously asexual, so this is correct. Dog is bisexual, we all know that. And yeast is by budding. Budding is sexual or asexual? It's obviously asexual. There are no gametes involvement and there is only one sex involvement. Next, amoeba. Amoeba is by binary fission. Let's see that fastly. This is the nucleus and this will get divided. And next, nucleus will get divided. And finally, we get, okay, don't be in a round shape. Two new individuals is formed. And what's meaning of binary? Binary is nothing but 2. So as it's giving two new individuals, it's binary fission. The amoeba is getting divided, right? So this is sexual or asexual. First of all, there is only one sex involvement. Next, there are no germ cells involvement. In the sense it is asexual. So amoeba is also correct. Option is B. Next, in a flower, the parts that produce male and female gametes which are nothing but germ cells are. We'll take this because it's tough to draw the diagram. So we'll take help of this. Yep. Now let's label up the diagram fastly. What is this called? This is called stigma. This is called style. And this is called ovary. This part is called anther. And this is called filament. Now stigma, style and ovary, SSO, together are called pistil. And anther and filament are called stamen. Now pistil are the female parts. What are pistils? Female parts. And stamen. In stamen only we can observe there is men, right? Stamen is male part. We got the clarity about it. And we know that on the anther we can see some yellow dots kind thingy. What are those called? These yellow kind thingy are called pollen grains. Pollen grains. These are the most important thing for reproduction. Pollen grains are very important for reproduction. The pollen grains are the germ cells of male, right? Next, what is germ cells in female? Ovule. What is ovule? What is the use of ovule? Now ovule, when it gets developed, means after the fusion, when it gets developed, it turns into a fruit. Over there we get again seeds. So it's ovule, which is the germ cell in female, present in ovary. and pollen grains are in anther. Now let us quickly see how does pollination, fertilization happen in a flower. Okay. Now, once again, these are the pollen grains. The pollen grains comes and stick onto the stigma. That process is called pollination. What is it called? Pollination. Now there are two types in pollination. One is cross pollination, other is self pollination. What is cross pollination and self pollination? Let's take a flower. In flower, if there are stamen and pistil present, then self pollination happens. In the sense, male parts and female parts are present in the same flower, then the pollen grain will go stick onto the stigma of the same flower. So it's self-pollination, it's within the flower. But whereas cross-pollination there are two flowers which are unisexual, in the sense either one is present, either male part or female part. So suppose this have pistil and this have only stamen. Let this be the pistil part, the female one, and this have the male part. Now the pollen grain over here, which is present on the anther, will go stick on the stigma of another flower. This is called cross pollination. I think so you understood what is self pollination, cross pollination. So after pollination, what happens? There will be a pollen tube. You can see this long tube connected till here, right? That is pollen tube. When pollen tube forms, this part is called the gamete. This is the male gamete. Okay. So next what happens is, when the gamete, after pollen tube is formed, that the gamete will go fuses with the female gamete. So fusion of male gamete and female gamete is called fertilization. What is it called? Fertilization. And after fusion, what forms? Zygote. Zygote is formed after fertilization, means after fusion of male and female gamete. This zygote, after developing, forms an embryo. Embryo. This embryo, after developing, nothing but over here, after developing, it becomes a fruit, right? And the rest, petals, sepals and all will dry up and fall. That's it. It was that simple. So we'll get back to the question. They asked what are the parts that produce male and female gametes. So we just saw pollen grain is the male gamete, that is in anther, and female gamete is the ovule, that is in ovary. So the answer is ovary and anther, C. Once again, C is the answer. Next, which of the following is correct sequence of events of sexual production in flowers? That's what we discussed. First, what happens? A pollen grain will come and stick onto the stigma. Once again, let me take so the pollen grain from the anther will come and stick onto the stigma. That is called pollination. After pollination, the fusion of male and female gamete happens. That is nothing called fertilization. And next, fertilization. When fertilization is happening, zygote will form. After zygote, embryo. Once again, embryo will be formed. After embryo, on further development, a fruit in which seeds are present. That's it. So pollination, fertilization, seedling are the correct sequence, right? We'll see which option is that. C. Pollination, fertilization, embryo and seedling. We'll move on to the next question. Offspring formed by asexual method of reproduction have greater similarity among themselves because. Okay. So we know the difference between sexual and asexual. In asexual, only one parent. In sexual, two sexes involvement, in the sense two parents, one is male, other is female. Now just imagine, we'll take some other random example. Now a teacher asks you to pick a single digit number. Then how many options you have? From 0 to 9 you have options. If they ask you to pick a double digit number, you have options from where to where? 10 to 99, right? 0 to 9 you have option, that is for single digit, and for double digit you have options from 10 to 99. So over here there are too many options in double digit. Same way that when there are two parents, there have many characters. You can pick any character from any parents. But whereas only one parent, then only limited you will be having, right? So the similarity while taking from two parents, you can take 50%, not exactly, just imagine 50% from your mother and other 50% from your father. Like you have option over here. But where there is one sex, then only one parent, in that case 80% or 90% from the same parent you have to take. So there is a lot of similarity in a sexual reproduction because there's only one parent. Next is, that is what first option says, a sexual reproduction involves only one parent. So that is the reason. Next, a sexual reproduction does not involve gametes. That is also true. Now gametes are nothing but germ cells. In this germ cells only will be having the chromosomes which carries the characteristics, right? Where are these characteristics are present? These are the chromosomes X and Y. And Y means it's not in the shape of Y. It's not in the shape of Y. It's just a smaller X. This is called as Y. Remember it. So each section of a chromosome contains DNA. And each section of a DNA contains gene. So our chromosomes will contain the gene which contains the characteristics from one generation to the other generation, right? So there are too much similarity. When these chromosomes of two are involved, one is from one parent, other is from the other parent, so you will adopt the characteristics from either this one or this one. Like you will choose up, in the sense you won't be having the option, but we can choose from this or this, right? Either like whichever is stronger, that characteristic will be adopted. So 1 and 2 are the options. Next we'll move on. Wait, 1 and 2 is nothing but, sorry, no, it's not B, it's A. Yeah. We'll go for the next question. Characteristics transmitted from parents to offspring are present in. Yeah, that's what we saw. This is a chromosome, and in this each section of a chromosome there is a DNA present. This DNA contains gene. What does this gene have? Characters, right? Now if this is complicated, I'll just give a small example. Have you ever heard people saying, I think so you got this gene from your mom, I think so you got this gene from your dad. If you have sugar, this is your dad's gene, right? Because that is nothing but characters, right? Same way, it's a very basic example in a very common language. Characters is nothing but gene. We use it in our daily life without knowing. We'll move on to the next question. Characters that are transmitted from parents to offspring during reproduction show. Only similarity. If there's only similarity, this would be your mom and this would be you. I didn't draw it pretty similar, but you will be the same. Only similarity in the sense you will be very same. You will be the exact Xerox copy, right? But you aren't, so you're not similar. Only variations means you have to be exact different. No, you're not totally different from your mom or dad. There are similarities and variations. Okay, first of all, similarities is okay, but why are this variation caused? See, variations are caused so that you will get adapted to the conditions around you. We can take a small example of a giraffe. Giraffes before had smaller necks. They didn't attain the long necks in only one generation gap. No. They had very small necks, they were herbivorous, and it was very hard survival for them because they didn't get food over there. At that point of time, they had to reach the branches of tree, and that was obviously trees are tall, and when they have to reach it, it was hard. So generation by generation, there was a variation caused by which the giraffe's neck became tall, and it wasn't a sudden change. It wasn't. There was a bit variation, a little bit variation from each generation. That's it. So variations are equally important. So both similarities and variations are there. And you can say, like, again, if we come to the basic language or our daily life, people say, I think so you have the same eyes like your mom or dad. Come on, that's similarity, right? And variations, they don't say that you have the same mouth. If they say same eyes and they don't say same mouth, so that is variation. Simple. So both similarities and variation. Next question. A feature of reproduction that is common in amoeba, Spirogyra and yeast. Amoeba is by what? Binary fission. And Spirogyra, we'll keep it aside, I'll come back to it. And yeast is by budding, right? Now what is amoeba? Asexual. What is amoeba? Asexual reproduction. Yeast is by asexual reproduction. Now we'll come back to Spirogyra. See, Spirogyra is by fragmentation. Spirogyra is from fragmentation. Spirogyra on maturation, it breaks into pieces. It automatically breaks into pieces. It's not like planaria. Planaria will break into pieces with some external force on it. But Spirogyra isn't like that. On maturation, it automatically breaks into pieces, and each piece will form a new individual. Each piece will form a new individual. So this is called fragmentation. Does it involve two sexes? No, only one sex or one parent. And there are no involvement of gametes. So this is also asexual. So all three are asexual, right? What they asked, the feature that are common in three, they reproduce asexually. Next, we'll get back to the next question. So we'll get into the next question. In the Spirogyra, asexual reproduction takes place by, that's what we saw last time, by breaking up into filaments. So Spirogyra, on maturation, it breaks up into pieces, and each piece will be formed as a new individual. First option. Okay, in B and C, let's see what are the examples for B and C. In B, a cell is into two new cells, in the sense 1 into 2 new cells. I think so, I just said you in the starting of the class. That is nothing but amoeba, right? 1 cell into 2 new cells, that is binary fission. Next, division of cell into many cells. Division of cell into many cells, I think so I said you this also. That is multiple fission. Plasmodium, it have many cells, and each cell can grow up into a new individual. That is multiple fission, right? So A is the answer. Next, the ability of a cell to divide into several cells during reproduction in Plasmodium is called, just now we saw, that is multiple fission. Sorry, one sec. Yeah, so that is multiple fission. And give me another example for budding. That is Hydra. So just let's see how does a Hydra reproduce, right? And this is how similarly Hydra looks. And these are called tentacles. In this Hydra, there will be a small bud formed, and this bud will later on develop into a new individual, just like Hydra. These are the tentacles, you just imagine, and this is growing up into a new individual. After it grows up, it will get detached. So that was an example for budding. Another example for budding, that was Hydra. We'll move on to the next question, 10th one. The correct sequence of reproductive stages seen in flowering plants. Yeah, we just discussed that gametes, fusion of gametes is called fertilization. What does happen when fusion of male and female gamete happens? What will form zygote? And zygote on development forms embryo. Embryo later on is seedling, that is nothing but A. C option is exactly the different. After seed it will become embryo, after embryo zygote, and then gametes. Okay. So option is A. Gametes, zygote, embryo and seedling. Gametes on fusion of gametes it forms zygote, and zygote on development embryo. Next one for the development it's seed. Next question. The number of chromosomes in parent and offspring of a particular species remains constant due to. Okay, how many chromosomes do a human have? 46 chromosomes. 46 chromosomes or 23 pair of chromosomes. Remember, don't get confused, 23 pair or 46 chromosomes. This is fixed for a human. 23 pair of chromosomes is fixed for a human, right? In this we have germ cells, that is one pair of germ cells. Now if 23 pair of chromosomes have to be fixed in a human, alright, suppose male and female will take, let me erase everything, male and female, and this have 23 chromosomes and this have 23 chromosomes. Both will give their chromosomes. In the sense, we'll have 46 pair of chromosomes. If they don't double or off, they give just exact number, 46 pair. But how much does a human have? Only 23 pair, that is fixed. So it's not the same. Suppose it doubles. In the sense, each will give 46. Then how much will be we having? 92 chromosomes. We have to be having how much? 23 pair of chromosomes, but over here we have 42 pair of chromosomes. No. So if they half and give, male and female, there were 23. In the sense, if they half, will get 23 pairs, nothing but 46. In the sense, each will give 23 chromosomes. This was 23 pair and this is 46 chromosomes, and each will give 23 chromosomes. So here also 23 chromosomes from male and female, means from two parents, each parent will give 23. In the sense, 23 pair of chromosomes, nothing but 46 chromosomes. So they are halving the chromosomes and giving, so that for the further generation also will be having the 23 pair of chromosomes. That is fixed, right? So what is the option? Doubling of chromosomes after zygote formation? No. Halving of chromosomes during zygote formation? True. Okay, we have halving in B and D. Halving of chromosomes after and before formation of gamete. So formation of gamete, right? Now male gamete and female gamete are the main thing which on fusion will give a new individual, right? So suppose after the gamete formation, how will they have? So after gamete formation, now they'll fuse to give a zygote, right? Suppose they didn't half over here, they just give, the male has 23 pairs and female has the 23 pairs, each parent gave the same number to the gamete. Now after gamete there was a fusion. In fusion, both are fusing, right? In the sense, 23 plus 23, 46 pair of chromosomes will be there in gamete. sorry, in zygote, because each gamete had 23 pair. You're fusing them, so you'll be having 46 pairs. It shouldn't happen now, though it can't half. After gamete formation, you can't half it, right? So while the gamete formation only, they have to half it. So 23 pair of chromosomes, and over here also 23 pair of chromosomes we have. So each parent will give 23 chromosomes. Now how much will be having? 46 chromosomes, nothing but 23 pair of chromosomes. Now this will be fixed. So option is B, halving of the chromosomes during gamete formation. It's not after gamete formation, because after gamete formation we can't half it, right?